welcome to Grit with Wisdom. This is the podcast that delves deep into the inner psyche of mountain bikers from all aspects of our sport in order to discover the tools and the tactics that can help us have more fun out on the trails more often. Our aim here is to help you understand what it takes to push our own personal boundaries in the sport we love from a mental and emotional perspective. Hello everyone, we're back with another Voice of the People episode of the podcast. We're up here at Crankworx Whistler 2024 and we're going to be speaking to as many athletes as possible this week to try and find out what it's like to push the limits of our sport from a mental perspective. I see, okay, I'm here with Danny Hart today. I'm going to ask you a few questions about your pre-race preparation. So yeah, I'd love to know from a mental perspective, how do you prepare for a race like this?
This race is quite tricky because we don't really have the resources that we would have at our fingertips back home in Europe. So it's been quite, I have some good friends around, so borrowed me the truck and everything like that. And then once we get on the gondola and we get to the top, we don't have the trainers or anything like that usually get us into our race mindset. So we just have to sort of improvise really. So I just have a little pedal around at the top of the mountain, sit somewhere in the shade, do some visualization, and that's about all we can do here.
Yeah, okay, fantastic. So yeah, practicing those habits you've been, I guess, learning for years with your trainers.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Awesome,
so
mate.
it's like I said, it's quite tricky here because we don't have our normal pits and bikes and all that stuff, but we're making do.
Totally, yeah, good to hear you're making do. I'm sure that kind of plays into it, knowing that you
Yeah.
perhaps don't have the resources.
I've got a lot of experience, so I can snap in and out of it, so it's all good.
Yeah, fantastic. And yeah, from your perspective, what's harder to manage when you're out there, confidence or fear?
Confidence.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty common answer we might get
Yeah.
today. Yeah, awesome. What's your number one tip to maintain speed through corners?
Oh, just don't touch the brakes. Or if you do, don't touch them in the corner, touch them before. But even for us, that's quite tricky sometimes.
Fantastic, man. Yeah, wise advice there. Last question. If you could describe the 1199 racetrack in one word, what would it be? Gnarly's already taken.
Yeah, it's extreme.
Yeah, watching the videos yesterday, I have to say I agree.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks so much for taking part.
Thank you.
Really appreciate
Have a
it.
good day.
I'm here with Ronan Dunne. He's just given us an awesome course intro yesterday. We're going to get a little bit more information about his pre-race prep here. So I'm curious, man, from a mental perspective, how do you prepare for a race like this?
For a race like this, it's a pretty big race. Obviously, it's not World Cup or hardline spec, but it is still pretty important. So you kind of want to come in, I don't know, for a good result. And it's, but yeah, I'd be kind of going similar enough to a World Cup mental standpoint, even though we don't have the full World Cup support, or just kind of the seriousness in play. But yeah, still at the end of the day is racing, and the person whoever wins this is still the fastest man on this hill. So you kind of always want to be in that area. But yeah, I think this track is pretty wild. So it's a tricky one because we still have a good few World Cup races in play, and you don't want to blow it all, but then also you don't really want to be a bitch and not win. So it's it's kind of here and there really.
Yeah, that must be challenging to manage.
Yeah.
I'm curious, confidence on one side, fear on the other. What do you find hardest to manage when you're racing?
For this race, I think more just being smart is what I'm struggling to. World Cups, it's it's all caution out the wind, and it's literally just just all out really, because that's our main priority. But a race like this, it is just trying to be smart and not do stuff stupid. If you're not feeling too fast, then don't swing off it. But yeah, it's a tricky one because you have to be smart with a race like this because it's not our main priority, but it is. You do want to win it for sure.
Yeah, man, that must be so hard to balance.
Yeah, tricky enough. But at the end of the day, you're kind of just going to swing off it and see how it goes really.
Yeah, that's awesome. Non-mental related question here, but one I get asked all the time. What's your number one tip for carrying speed through corners?
Don't be braking in the turn really, but it's a tricky one. Yeah, don't be braking in the turn, just fucking swing off it, and just think about after the turn, not in it.
Good answer, and our friend Danny Hart over here agrees.
Yeah.
The same answer.
Sweet.
One last question here. How would you describe the 1199 racetrack in one word, but the word gnarly's already taken?
Fucked. Yeah. Pretty fucked. It's a wild track. It's super sick. It's yeah, it's definitely pretty fucked.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Mate, thanks so much for taking the time.
Cheers, boss. Thank you
Good to
very
chat to
much.
you. Okay, guys, here with Mark Wallace today. We're going to ask him a couple of questions about his prep before today's race. On that note, curious, how do you prepare mentally for a race like this?
Well, to be honest, it helps when you've raced the track before. You can kind of, look back on the previous year, what was working, what wasn't. So it gives you a little bit of base information, I guess. So you're not coming into it completely blind. And then also you just, bike racer, like motivated to race. I want to get into it. I want to get on the track and search for lines and try and find the fastest way down.
Totally, yeah. Sounds like you got that love for it. You really enjoy it, so it makes everything else worth it.
Exactly, yeah.
Love it, dude. When you're out there, like on the race day, trying to put down your fastest time, what do you find harder to manage, confidence or fear?
I think confidence. To be honest, the fear doesn't I don't know, dictate decisions too much. But I think confidence does, and especially dictates how you approach the run and how you approach your riding. So yeah, the higher the confidence, kind of the smoother things generally come together.
That's a great answer. I want to know, what's your number one tip for carrying speed through corners?
Number one tip. It's hard to narrow it down to one. On this track, I think it's about braking. You gotta hit your braking point and be off the brakes where you need to be to carry the speed out. So
Yeah, that's fantastic. We spoke to 3 riders so far and it's all been about braking. So I think you're onto something.
Yeah. On a flatter track, sometimes it's about looking through the turn, but this one's all about the braking point.
Yeah, fantastic. And if you had to describe today's racetrack in one word, what would it be? Gnarly's already taken.
Loose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Loose dirt and loose rocks everywhere.
Yeah, man, certainly looks like it. Well, thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
We're going to be cheering you on from the sidelines. Well, from a mental perspective, how did you prepare for today's race?
I mean, for me, it's more about all the days leading up to the race, like kind of having a reason for every lap and wanting to accomplish something. So then kind of build into the race day and feel confident and ready that you can do what you need to do.
Yeah, I love that answer, that purposeful practice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, awesome. And what's harder to manage for you, confidence or fear?
I mean, a little bit of both. It depends on the weekend, depends on the track you're on and what suits you really. So I would say it depends weekend to weekend.
Yeah, good answer. And in the physical world, when you're cornering, every rider wants to know, what's your number one tip for carrying speed through corners?
Braking early, honestly. You just got to brake super hard, super early, because then you can get off earlier and carry more momentum through the corner and out of it. And that's something I've focused on like this year, and I found it's helped me quite a bit.
Yeah, wise advice. If you had to describe today's racetrack in one word, what would it be?
Okay, I would say legit. Like, it's super legit. And yeah, I don't know. It's probably one of the most intense racetracks I've ridden ever. It's just like full on the entire time and there's not many breaks. So definitely gets you gassed.
Wow, yeah, it's insane. Hats off to all you guys riding today. So yeah, curious, when you're preparing for a race, how do you prepare for the mental aspect of that?
That's something I've been working on this year. But yeah, I basically, like, for my mental side to feel good, I basically just need to feel good on the bike, basically. And yeah, once I'm dialed, like, on track, my mental side isn't really an issue. So yeah.
Right, so once you're feeling good on the bike in the physical world, everything else kind of comes together?
Yeah, just all pieces together.
Yeah, awesome. And yeah, when you're like mid-race run, you're giving it your all, I'm curious, what do you find harder to manage, confidence or fear?
It depends. Well, I don't know. I'm not really
a tricky
scared,
question.
but yeah, I'd say confidence for sure. But yeah, this year I've definitely been lacking a bit of confidence, but yeah, just need to find the pace, and then once you feel fast, then confidence boost up there. So, yeah.
Totally. Well, it sounds like you know the process to get back where you want to be, so
Yeah.
that's rad.
Yeah.
When you're cornering, I want to know your number one tip for carrying speed out of corners.
Push as hard as you can, and
Yeah, fantastic. Great. And you've obviously like seen today's racetrack. How would you describe it in one word if gnarly's already taken?
rough.
Yeah. Watching the videos, I have to say I'd agree. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with us today. How do you prepare for a race like today's race?
I don't know. You got to wake up, have a good breakfast, and just feel like you can win. Pretty much, yeah. Just have that confidence and the hype around it. I feel like lift it up, you know, you feel better, and I don't know, maybe perform better as well. So.
Yeah, fantastic. That's a good Kiwi attitude right there. I love it, mate. What do you find harder to manage once you're out there mid-race run? Confidence or fear?
Well, you got to let go of the fear, but you got to have it there. But I think just trying to be confident, really, it's important, you know, because you got to hit your lines perfectly. But yeah, easier to manage fear because, you know, you just have to deal with it anyway. It doesn't matter what. You just have to. It's going to be there, but you know, it's all good.
Yeah, that's some cool insight. And in the physical world, when you're cornering, what's your number one tip for maintaining speed through corners?
Maintaining, I don't know, just keep going over corners and hitting them harder and harder. You find where you slip, and then just find where you can, I don't know, accelerate out of it. You know, you come into it. Some people say you slow down. Of course, you slow down a bit, but before the turn. But if you can learn how to hit it so hard without slowing down, it's pretty sick. It looks cool as well. So.
Absolutely, it does. Yeah. Unreal, mate. And how would you describe today's racetrack in one word?
Hearty.
Hearty.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Yeah.
Awesome, bro. Well, thanks so much for taking the time. How do you prepare for today's race from a mental perspective?
Well, I had pretty good confidence boost from yesterday's result, and I just feel good on this track. So on the mental side, I feel pretty good, and I always feel like I try to stay positive throughout the whole day and hopefully have a good practice. So that kind of determines how I feel on that side. But yeah, no, I just feel pretty good and had a little snack. Now we're going to go.
Fantastic, mate. So yeah, perfect practice makes perfect. I love it. When you're out there kind of mid-race run, what do you generally find harder to manage? Confidence or fear?
Probably confidence, because when you like go through sections and you like feel good, you kind of have like maybe if I do this bad, it might crash or whatever. So just having a good, strong mindset throughout the whole run is pretty important.
Yeah, I love that answer. That's some great insight. When you're ripping through corners, I'd love to know what's your number one tip for maintaining speed through corners?
Yeah, well, on this track there's a couple, so basically just braking before and then letting out midway and then hopefully carrying as much exit speed as you can.
I love it. Wise advice. Last question here. If you could describe today's racetrack in one word, what would it be? Gnarly's already taken.
Rough.
Rough. Yeah, I have to agree. Best of luck out there today.
Thank you.
How did you prepare for today's race?
Just did everything that I needed to do to prepare for the race. You know, eat good food, just good rest. So yeah, just a bit of everything, and yeah, feeling good.
Right, checking all those boxes.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. When you're out there mid-race run, what do you generally find harder to manage, confidence or fear?
It's a bit of both, you know. Sometimes there's a feature, there's some big holes forming that you fear or whatever, but yeah, I mean, it's a bit of both, but you just usually get past it and have a good time.
Fantastic. I'd love to know, what's your number one tip for carrying speed through corners?
I would say stay out of those soft spots. You know, this track's got a lot of spots where there's massive dust holes and stuff like that. So, you know, really carrying speed, missing the holes, stuff like that.
Yeah, wise advice. I like it. Last question here. If you could describe today's racetrack in one word, what would it be?
We'll go with dusty.
Dusty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice one, mate. Well, thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, sweet.
Good luck out there today. What's up, guys? Just one more thing before you hit the trails. If you enjoyed this podcast, please be sure to subscribe and don't be a stranger. I'd love to hear from you about any topics or any particular episodes that you enjoyed, and even about any guests that you'd like to hear me have on the show in the future. You can find me on Instagram at _mind_mountain. This podcast, mountain biking, and mindset are all things that are very close to my heart, so I feel super grateful to be able to share these conversations with you. So much love to you all for taking the time to listen. I'll see you next time.